African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoy, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing on the progress of the special military operation as of the 4th of July, 2025. Tonight, in response to the terrorist acts of the Kiev regime, the armed forces of the Russian Federation launched a massive strike with long-range precision weapons of land-based. The Kinzhal aeroballistic hypersonic missile system, long-range strike unmanned aerial vehicles on industrial enterprises engaged in the development and production of unmanned aerial vehicles, FPV drones and other robotic mobile systems, various military equipment in Kiev, as well as the infrastructure of a military airfield and an oil refinery. The strike's goal was achieved. All designated objects were hit. In addition, from June 28 to July 3, the armed forces of the Russian Federation carried out a massive and 5-group strikes, which resulted in the destruction of military-industrial complex facilities and oil refineries of Ukraine, the control system of the armed forces of Ukraine, radar stations, ammunition and material depots, production workshops, storage sites, launch sites and control points for attack unmanned aerial vehicles, storage sites for unmanned boats, as well as temporary deployment points of Ukrainian armed formations, nationalists, and foreign mercenaries. During the week, units of the North Group of Forces in the Kharkiv region liberated the village of Melove in the Kharkiv region. Defeat was inflicted on units of 2 mechanized, airborne assault, motorized infantry brigades, an unmanned systems brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, 2 territorial defense brigades, and a border detachment of the Border Service of Ukraine in Sumy Oblast. We continue to advance deep into the enemy's defenses. Concentrations of manpower and equipment of 3 mechanized, 3 airborne assault, a Jaeger brigades, 3 assault regiments, an assault battalion of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, 2 territorial defense brigades, and the Special Forces Detachment Chimera of the GUR were destroyed. Over the week, in the area of responsibility of the North Group of Forces, the enemy's losses amounted to over 1,360 servicemen, 5 tanks, 17 combat armored vehicles, and 37 cars. 34 field artillery guns, 6 ammunition and material depots were destroyed. Units of the West Group of Forces improved their tactical position. Formations of 4 mechanized, 2 assault, and airmobile brigades, a regiment of unmanned systems of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, and 2 territorial defense brigades were defeated. The enemy lost more than 1,550 servicemen, a tank, 14 armored combat vehicles, including the Snatch armored vehicle made in the UK, as well as an HMMWV armored car and an M113 armored personnel carrier made in the USA. 72 vehicles, 10 field artillery guns, including 2 made by NATO countries, 16 electronic warfare stations, and 28 ammunition depots were destroyed. Units of the Southern Group of Forces continued to advance deep into the enemy's defense and liberated the settlement of Predtikino in the Donetsk People's Republic. They defeated the manpower and equipment of 5 mechanized, airmobile, assault, mountain assault brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, 2 territorial defense brigades, and the Special Forces Brigade Azov. Over the course of a week, the Ukrainian armed forces lost over 1,180 servicemen, 2 tanks, an HMMWV armored vehicle, and an M113 armored personnel carrier made in the United States. 16 vehicles, 14 field artillery guns, 3 electronic warfare stations, and 15 ammunition and supply depots were destroyed. Units of the Center Group of Forces continued offensive operations on the territory of the Donetsk People's Republic and the Dnipropetrovsk region. The settlements of Novokrenka and Rozino of the Donetsk People's Republic were liberated. Formations of 5 mechanized, assault, mountain assault, airborne brigades, an unmanned systems brigade, 2 assault regiments of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, 2 Marine brigades, 2 territorial defense brigades and 2 National Guard brigades were defeated that the enemy lost up to 3,180 servicemen, 17 combat armored vehicles, including 2 M113 armored personnel carriers, 2 HMMWV armored vehicles, and 3 US-made Max Pro armored vehicles. 45 vehicles and 13 field artillery guns were destroyed. Over the past week, units of the East Group of Forces advanced deep into the enemy's defenses, liberated the settlement of Chervona Zerka of the Donetsk People's Republic. They defeated the manpower and equipment of 5 mechanized brigades of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, a Marine brigade, 2 territorial defense brigades, and a National Guard brigade that the Ukrainian Armed Forces losses amounted to more than 1,310 servicemen, 2 tanks, 4 combat armored vehicles, 44 cars, 17 field artillery guns, and 7 electronic warfare stations. Units of the Dnieper Group of Forces defeated formations of 2 mechanized, mountain assault brigades, 2 coastal defense brigades of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, and 2 territorial defense brigades that the Ukrainian Armed Forces lost more than 520 servicemen, a US-made HMMWV armored vehicle, and 48 cars. 12 artillery pieces, 36 electronic warfare stations, 23 ammunition, material, and fuel depots were destroyed. Over the course of the week, air defense systems shot down 7 British-made Storm Shadow air-launched cruise missiles, 6 US-made Mars multiple launch rockets, a long-range Neptune guided missile, 36 guided air bombs, and 1,172 aircraft-type unmanned aerial vehicles. Since the beginning of the special military operation, the following have been destroyed: 663 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 66,978 unmanned aerial vehicles, 612 anti-aircraft missile systems, 24,124 tanks and other armored combat vehicles, 1,573 multiple launch rocket system combat vehicles, 26,910 field artillery guns and mortars, 37,637 units of special military vehicles. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.